We live in a world that's getting progressively more and more green, and that means that it's really difficult to envision cars like this, V8 powered sports saloons, rear wheel drive, gas guzzling monsters, having much of a place in our automotive world going forward. That's why I believe it's all the more important to appreciate the cars we have now because they may not be around in the future. This is a 2017 Mercedes C63 AMG, and I believe it is the quintessential car in that niche that I believe should be preserved going forward. Today, I'm going to explain why this car is so worthy of preservation, talk about some of the cool features that it has, and why it's such a futuristic leap forward from the previous generations, and explain why you should come to RPM Garage to check it out today. Now, I can throw around terms like automotive progressivism all I'd like, but it doesn't really explain what is cool about this car specifically. When I talk about automotive progressivism, what I'm really talking about is the progression of changes to create the most modern and insane cars possible. And in the case of cars like this, it's very, very clear that automotive progressivism has taken place since the last generation. Going back to the 1980s and 1990s, as well as even the early 2000s, it seemed that very little effort and thought was put into the styling of any cars, and that's something that's clearly been changed in the past decade and a half. This 2017 car has had plenty of styling features added to it, and it looks like a subtle yet insanely aggressive luxury sports saloon, which is exactly what it's been designed to be. Now, that's why I talk about automotive progressivism, because this car now looks so drastically different from past generations of C-Class, and it looks so modern, so sleek, and so obviously luxurious. Now, it also looks aggressive, but it's also not so aggressive that you'd guess right off the top of your head that there's a 4-liter V8 under the hood, and I'll talk about that way later in the video. The reality is, Mercedes has designed this car from bumper to bumper to be an insane luxury performer, and that's included in the styling, and I love everything about it. Talking about these 18-inch Mercedes AMG wheels, they look fantastic against the black paint here, and I absolutely love the way that even in bone stock, it looks like a performance car with a ton of luxury amenities. Now, I'd like to talk a little bit more about the engine as to why this car is so great. One of my biggest issues with Mercedes until recently was their usage of badge numbers to connotate what was under the hood of the car. So in the case of the Mercedes E55, you might find a 5.5 liter V8, and in the case of the Mercedes C63 and S63, you would find, until recently, a 6.3 liter V8. And that makes a lot of sense when it comes to the nomenclature of cars and when it comes to identifying cars for what they are. However, I take a huge issue with it, and let me explain really quickly why. You see, I don't think that it's really easy to keep track of what car is what, because every time a Mercedes or BMW, who also does it, changes the engine under the hood of the car, the entire lineup gets renamed to correlate to that engine size. And that's okay and fine, and I get why car makers do it. However, I found it very annoying and very confusing because the
E63
and so many other cars like it have so many connotations with very similar names that it's just very, very difficult to keep track. As a result, I was so thankful when they changed to the non-standard naming system in the case of this car. This car, despite the C63 badge, has a twin-turbo 4-liter V8 under the hood, and it is truly magnificent. This engine produces 503 horsepower and 516 pound-feet of torque, which is absolutely wicked to use because that power is sent directly to the rear wheels, instead of a lot of cars which would have sent it to all-wheel drive. As a result of this, this car is wildly fun to drive, and because of the fact that you can select what driving mode you have, whether it be Sport Plus, Sport, Comfort, or Economical, you truly have control over the driving experience, the power delivery, your shifting experience through the 7-speed automatic transmission, and the suspension experience, which is one of the most crucial aspects of this car's performance. Because of the way this car is set up, it has electronic shocks and suspension adjustments, which means that you have a ton of control over how the car rides and how the car feels. Now, I've driven both the Mercedes C63 and the Mercedes C43, and both of those cars, I've been warned that the suspension is extremely difficult to live with, and I completely disagree with that. You see, when I was driving this car and when I was driving the C43, the suspension is extremely comfortable, particularly in comfort and economy mode, and it's not that bad in sport mode and sport plus mode. However, it's extremely easy to stiffen up and enjoy the driving experience that the car has to offer. You see, when you put the car in sport plus suspension mode, it tightens up just about every feature of the car, and it makes cornering a completely new experience from comfort mode. You see, when you yank the wheel hard in any direction in comfort mode, the car responds pretty much instantaneously, and that is fantastic. But when you do it in Sport Plus mode and Sport mode, it does it faster than you even turned the wheel. It makes no sense, but it's incredible how agile this car is and how quickly it handles and how quickly it corners. This car truly drives unlike any car I've ever driven, and I cannot urge you enough to come test drive it because it is a once-in-a-lifetime experience. That being said, I'd like to dive into the interior to talk a little bit about why this car is so special in there as well. As with most AMGs, there are a ton of cool interior features that make it truly worthy of the AMG badge. First off are these bucket seats. Now these are leather and Alcantara bucket seats, and they are some of the most beautiful seats I've ever sat in. Not only in terms of looks, but in terms of comfort. As I talked before about suspension and the varying degrees of stiffness that it can offer, one of the greatest features of this car is that for every bit of lack that this suspension has in terms of being a little uncomfortable when it's in the sport mode, it's actually accounted for by these beautiful seats. These seats are insanely supportive and very, very comfortable. A couple of other cool things that I like about this car are the AMG Mercedes steering wheel. Now, I truly love this steering wheel because it truly makes me feel very in control, and it's very luxurious, and best of all, it has the paddle shifters that I very, very much love. Now, like I said, this car is truly a luxury car, and there's so many features in here that make that truly evident. The first of which is this sound system, and I know that's an insanely odd choice for something to be a luxury car, but this Bowmester premium sound system is one of the best sound systems in the world, and I truly love listening to music in it. That being said, I really love the exhaust note that much more, because this car has one of the best exhausts ever, and if I'm ever not willing to listen to music, I will gladly listen to the note being produced by the 4-tip AMG active exhaust. Now, like I said, this is truly a luxury car, and beyond the sound system, there are so many cool features here that make it worthy of the AMG badge. And that's true especially when it comes to the dual sunroofs, all the wood trim, and the various amenities that this infotainment offers and just being in the car offers. I truly feel like I'm an executive or a businessman or someone worthy of $1 million salary, and that's just from being in the car. Now, it's truly a pleasure to be in this interior, and I cannot wait to start up the car later in the video so I can show you that beautiful exhaust noise as well. First, though, I want to tell you a couple of closing things about the car before I tell you to come on down to RPM and check it out. One of the biggest challenges that most European sports saloons face is reliability, or at least the public perception of reliability. You see, most of these cars have a ton of power under the hood and have been tuned to their very limit, and a lot of them, as a result, aren't the most reliable cars because of it. However, Mercedes has a long track record of unbelievably reliable cars despite their large amounts of power output and their very, very large engines. For example, this car only has 49,000 miles on it, and most Mercedes C63s and a lot of the 6.3-liter V8s typically last well north of 150,000 miles, if they ever even get that high. That's why I truly love the value of this car. This car had an MSRP of likely well over $90,000, but for now it's for sale at RPM Garage for only $51,991, which is about half off its original MSRP and with only 49,000 miles. Now, obviously, I can't exactly make you buy a car, but I can suggest highly that you come take a look at it because it is truly a car unlike any other that Mercedes has built up to the 2017 model year. And I was a massive fan of the previous generation before it, so that should tell you just how much I truly love this car. I'd like to thank each and every one of you for watching today's video, and I hope you'll all consider liking, sharing, and even subscribing to the channel. I'm also going to link our website, our Instagram, and our TikTok down below, and I really hope you'll check those out as well. We really appreciate the time you've taken out to watch this video today, and we'll catch you all in the next one.